To many, the North Sea is a vast, cold stretch of water, rich in oil and fish stocks, and across which the Vikings sailed to attack Lindisfarne in AD 793. However, to archaeologists, the North Sea represents far more. Note the area under the sea called Dogger Bank. If one drew a straight line from Calais to Bergen, all the while monitoring the depth of the seabed, Dogger Bank is the shallowest point. In 1931, the fishing trawler Kalinda hauled up a lump of peat while fishing approximately 25 miles east of Norfolk. The deep-sea fishing techniques had literally scraped the sea floor, and within this catch, in a lump of peat, was found a barbed antler point. Approximately 4,000 to 10,000 years old, this point had once been on the end of a spear. This find had immense implications, and it was proposed that during the last ice age, vast amounts of seawater were locked up in glaciers, exposing the relatively shallow seabed as it is today as dry land. This land came to be known as Doggerland, named after Dogger Bank. The end of the last glaciation resulted in a comparatively lush period, rich in resources for hunting and gathering, which we call the Mesolithic. The barbed antler point discovered by the trawler in 1931 is a recognizable Mesolithic type, and was probably part of a fishing spear used on the coast, or perhaps in a deep river. Another common tool type diagnostic of the Mesolithic is the microlith. These tiny stone tools are extremely useful, as they can be deployed in a myriad of ways, creating different tools like arrows, spears, and scrapers for different situations. Humans at this time in Northern Europe lived a highly seasonal lifestyle, which archaeologists call fission fusion. As in nuclear physics, broadly speaking, fission being a group breaking apart, and fusion being a group coming together. In the winter, people would come together by large rivers or by the coast to fish, to trade, to find new partners, and to share tips on potential hunting grounds for the summer, when people would break apart into smaller groups, hunting for large animals such as deer in the hills and valleys inland. This is where the adaptable microlith came in handy, as they were always close to readily available sources of food, fruit, nuts, water, and medicine. And Doggerland would not have disappointed. The forest supported animals such as red deer and roe deer. In the undergrowth, wild boar could be found. And occasionally aurochs, the large, fearsome ancestors of modern cattle. And fishing trawlers have even dredged up the remains of lions and mammoth that once roamed the tundra-like landscape. In the sky above, yet more food was to be found, with annual migrations of birds flocking overhead. Compared to their ancestors at the height of the glaciation, these people found a landscape humming with new fruit and fresh tastes. The coastline of Doggerland would have supported animals such as seal in abundance, whose meat can be eaten, whose skin can be used for waterproof clothing such as boots, and whose blubber can be used in lamps. Nesting seabirds such as the puffin would have been readily available, and up and down the coast great mounds or middens of shellfish began to build up. These are the remains of the winter gatherings of people by the sea, not necessarily eating all the shellfish, but perhaps using some of it to bait larger animals closer to the coast in order to fish or hunt them. Such shell middens are found in the shallows and above water today in Denmark and Scotland. In summary, where the North Sea now lies, there was once arguably the richest and most diverse landscape in the Northern Hemisphere. So the natural question is what happened to Doggerland, and of course the people who made this place their home. It has been suggested that by around 6000 BC, the melting glacial ice and rising sea levels finally resulted in a tsunami that began a 1000-year process, slowly but steadily engulfing Doggerland. And by around 5000 BC, Doggerland had become Dogger Bank in the North Sea. People would have moved with the waters, following animals and resources further and further inland into Britain, Scandinavia, and also continental Europe. But remarkably, from the mists of time, archaeology reveals that it was once possible to walk from what is now England to what is now Denmark, and keep your feet relatively dry. And what's more, that our ancestors once thrived in a place that we now consider to be under the sea.